think. A lot of people believe you have to be a big channel to grow a following on YouTube. This kind of keeps people from creating, really. Keeps people from starting a channel, keeps people from growing a channel, puts people almost in this paralysis where they just never take action. They might think about taking action. They might believe there's already an oversaturated market on YouTube. Small channels don't get a chance. You got to be a Mr. Beast. You got to be a Valuetainment. You got to be a Gary Vee, a Ty Lopez, whatever guru you choose to look towards in that situation. The fact of the matter is that a lot of small channels are kind of boots on the ground, if you think about it. Think about it in the structure of military. Never been in the military, so I'm only hypothesizing. I would imagine the people on the front lines can really gauge the pulse of a war oftentimes much better than the commander in the war room. That's why we have people on the front lines. So, much like any situation, when you're actually at the ground level, and that's what a small channel is, you're at the ground level of YouTube, you can see these trends if you're paying attention, and you can optimize yourself to reach these trends much faster than a large creator that has a staff of 200 people, might have all these corporate sponsorships to worry about, not able to pivot quite as well as a small channel can. So if you're not really worried about anything, you're not worried about branding, you're not worried about brand voice, things like that, you can adapt to the situations on YouTube much easier than a big creator that has all these responsibilities and obligations. So it creates quite an interesting dynamic for people starting YouTube, especially this year. Really see this as a big year to start a YouTube channel. I've been doing it for 8 years professionally for other people. Started this channel pretty heavy last year, but more people are getting off of cable. Make it sound like drugs, right? They're getting off of cable. People still want to be entertained though. Cable wasn't the first way people got entertained. Satellite television wasn't the first way people got entertained. It's all different mediums by which entertainment is delivered to people, but the mechanisms can change. But things that engage us, pretty unchanging. We like good stories. We like relatable personalities. And I would argue that as a creator gets bigger on the platform, it becomes less relatable to more people. Whereas a small creator, especially if they're being authentic, becomes more relatable to more people. So one of the main things you can really do in your content as a small creator is be authentic. Use your authentic voice. Don't try to replicate the style of other bigger creators like a Mr. Beast. Any of these people. There's a lot of scarcity involved in that. In the creator economy, that's what they call it, right? It's a big economy. It's really big. And it's growing because people are engaging less with brands, engaging less with these established, I guess, corporate entertainment outlets, and they're entertaining themselves with influencers, small brands, things that are more relatable, things that are coming through in an authentic voice. There's not a lot of authenticity when you have these stringent dynamics that you have to follow as a creator, which a lot of the bigger creators have to do because they're dependent upon these sponsorships, dependent upon commercial products that they're tied to. They can't take as many chances as small channels. Small channels, everything's a gamble, especially if it's just you. If you're selling your product or service, you don't have to worry about a corporate overlord telling you what to do, what you can and can't do. And since you're on the front lines of YouTube, you see the changes as they happen in real time. At least you should if you're serious about doing it. I don't know how many hours I've spent on YouTube in the last eight years. Well over 40 hours a week. And you can see the tides shift when you spend that much time on YouTube. Even if you're just a viewer, even if you don't have a channel yet. just by observing things, seeing what hits. Start to break down the methodology behind it. Why does it hit? When does it hit? Who does it hit? These are things that you could go take a course from somebody on, or you could use your own time, and just through observation, you should be able to discover the patterns in the system. And over the last 8 years, the patterns that I've seen many people use to YouTube stardom have been authenticity, intriguing topics that enough people are interested in that they're going to engage with it. Got to have a high click-through rate. And how do you do that? You just simply deliver on what you're talking about. You can't expect to get millions of views on something, even like what I do, video SEO. Most people don't even know what SEO means. But that means the people that do find me based on SEO, they're pretty qualified. So if you're teaching people how to make quilts, you might not get 90 million views. But of those 90 views you get, you might be able to sell your expertise to them through a product or service. So that's what's called a qualified view. That's what the difference is. So small channels, they have an opportunity to get those qualified views because they can experiment much more than bigger channels can. Bigger channels, they have obligations. They have people to answer to. A big channel like a Mr. Beast, they might have 200 people working there. You're responsible for those people that are working for you. Small channel, it's a personal brand. It's not as much at stake initially. You can grow to that level where you're now a big brand and you're employing other people and you're getting deals with sponsors or companies, brand ambassadorships, things like that. Then you're going to have much less flexibility. You know, if you check out people like Alex Hermosi, one of the things he talks about is if you don't have a lot of money, you have a lot of time. If you're generating a lot of revenue, you probably don't have a lot of time. You have to be more mindful of how you spend your time and what you use your time on. But that's actually one of the advantages that small creators have. Obviously, you're probably working a 25 to 40 hour a week job when you're first starting a YouTube channel, but you do have more time than a Mr. Beast. I would imagine a Mr. Beast doesn't have a whole lot of control over his time because of the business obligations that he undoubtedly has on a daily basis. Sure, he could be like Gary Vee and probably take a month-long vacation like Gary says he takes, but the day-to-day, Mr. Beast has much less control over his life than you do in terms of how he uses his time. Because when you get to a certain level of success, money doesn't matter as much as time does, because you can always make more money. Can't make more time. None of us can. And we don't know how much of it we have either. God forbid something bad happens. We don't have a ton of control over it. That might be a morbid outlook for some people on something as light as talking about creating a YouTube channel, but it's the fact of the matter. So that's actually one of the benefits of being a small creator. So you have control over your time more so than these big creators on the platform. So that means you can experiment more. I mean, we don't really know, right? For all we know, a lot of these videos for big creators be made months in advance. If you're a small creator, you just pick up your phone like I'm doing right now and you could create your content on the fly. So you're always in constant motion with the trends on YouTube, and you can pivot and experiment as needed. Whereas larger creators, they don't have those creative freedoms. They don't have creative freedom. They don't have a lot of control over their time. I'm speaking from my own observations I've made working with bigger creators. A lot of times they don't control their time. They don't have days off. They don't have the ability to experiment with different content types, different platforms. That's actually a strength that small channels should really lean on, because as you grow into a bigger channel and what your YouTube channel is to other people on this platform becomes more defined, you're not going to have all those freedoms. One other aspect about large channels that small channels can actually exploit as a weakness on larger channels is I see sometimes when channels get to a certain level, they get big enough, they start celebrating a little too much. The ego kicks in, right? They don't work as hard. They're not doing as much. They're not experimenting as much, so that means they're not adapting to the changing environment of YouTube. YouTube's a verb, it's always changing. It's changing right now, it's always changing. It's always evolving, constant evolution on YouTube. It evolves with society and with how we engage with content. That's what YouTube Shorts was, right? Reaction to TikTok. So if you're not in motion with the platform, those waves are going to get high and it might pull you under. There's a lot of YouTube channels that were big, say 10 years ago. Nobody's watching them anymore. I don't feel the need to list those off. I'm sure you can remember channels you watched 10 years ago, barely uploading content anymore, or if they are, the audience has shrunk significantly. And one could argue those people did not remain creative and they did not adapt to the changing tides of YouTube. Small channels, they're able to do that quite easily. It should be a constant experimentation when you're first starting out. It's really all you should be doing. A/B/C testing, right? YouTube encourages us to do that now because they put it into the YouTube studio with your thumbnails. So it's encouraged by the platform. They're telling you to experiment. My argument is larger channels, they can't experiment as much as smaller channels. Just something I was thinking about today. I see a lot of creators, and it's kind of funny now when you think about it. The gold play button, right? To get 1 million subscribers, the gold play button. A lot of these guys that are selling courses, I've noticed, have the old play button, right? The one that used to be in a clear frame, just a little play button like that. Now it's a big gold plaque, but it's interesting that they're still posing for pictures with the old one. I mean, it's kind of like the old Eddie Murphy skit. I don't remember if it was on Delirious or Raw, but he does the whole skit about getting divorced. And it's, "What have you done for me lately?" is what the woman says to him. And someone could say that's how YouTube treats creators. You might have a hot video this year, but if you're not constantly contributing to the platform, contributing content that people want to engage with, it becomes, "What have you done for me lately?" is what happens on YouTube. I've seen it. I've seen it with people I compete with. I've seen it with people I don't compete with, people that I just watch. Sometimes they get to that level and they ease up. And that's not good for the long-term success on the platform. They eased up and it's not good. So, I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about today. It's 96 degrees outside. Beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. I decided to share those thoughts. So if you're a small channel, you got a lot of opportunities, maybe even more opportunities than a big channel. If you look at it from that frame, sure, you might not have more than 100 subscribers, might not have more than 1 subscriber, might not have even uploaded your first video yet. You have nothing but opportunity. It's a blank canvas, right? You could scribble on it, or you could create the Mona Lisa. You could create the masterpiece. You could do stick figures. Either one might hit, right? The fact of the matter is that you have nothing but opportunity. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and make use of that opportunity if it's something you want to do. But understand, you get to a certain level, YouTube does become a full-time job. You could never work another day in your life if you love YouTube. You make it your job. But it can also become detrimental if you tie your ego to your subscriber count, to your view count, to your comments. That's sometimes where people develop the pitfalls of a creator. It's not for everybody. That's why most people don't do it, right? But for the last 8 years, it's been good for me. It's definitely changed my life, and I'm appreciative of it. So, if it's something you guys like, I encourage you to get going. Guys and ladies, I encourage you to get going, get creating. This is the year to do it. I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. Bye.